Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Praise the Pickle podcast.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Ready to talk. Ready to spit some words.
Spit some words. Oh, yeah. So this is the Praise the Pickle podcast, where we talk about video games and everything that we love, hate, and find incredibly mediocre about them. I am your host, Mr. Benjamin Watts, and I'm joined by Mr. Daniel Watts.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Wunderbar, thank you, wunderbar.
Good.
And I'm also joined by Mr. Kevin Hart.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Yeah?
How are you? How's life?
Yeah, life's good, man. Life's good. I always feel so weird asking you guys how you are. We talk all the time anyway. But yeah, I just wanted the audience to know how you are, you know.
You could just break down in tears.
Awful. Yeah, so as always, please leave some feedback on any of our social medias, which are...
You can go to Instagram, which is Praise the Pickle Podcast. You can email us, which is praisethepickelepodcast@gmail.com, or you can head over to our little Twitter and our Facebook, which is Praise the Pickle.
Damn right it is, son. And if you love us, because I'm sure you do, because we love you, and love is a mutual feeling, go on to all your podcast platforms of choice and rate, review, and subscribe. Now, before we crack on with the news, Mr. Daniel Watts has an apology to make. Go on, Daniel. Fire away.
Last week, I told a news story. I relayed the information to our vast audience about... It was about Kojima getting a BAFTA Fellowship Award, and we talked about some of the previous people that have got it. And one of the people that I mentioned is the absolutely legendary, famous,
Can't be that legendary, Dan, can it?
Hero, Shigeru Miyamoto, who is Nintendo Man, basically. You know, the Mario Man and the Zelda Man and the Donkey Kong Man. And then I went on to tell an anecdotal story about how he... Basically, I said, have you guys seen it when he plays Smash and he presents those like Smash Bros Directs and he plays with two controllers at once? And you guys are like, no. I was like, yeah. He's crazy. He plays with two controllers and he's like ambidextrous and it's really cool. And then I think it wasn't until I heard myself saying that, when I listened back to it, that I realised that I got him mixed up with a completely different Japanese legend called Masahiro Sakurai. Sakurai is also a legend of internet fame. He is the Smash Man, and Miyamoto is the Nintendo Man. And I'm incredibly sorry. They have very similar hairstyles. That's probably what did it.
You do get two people mixed up because of their hairstyles.
Oh, yeah. There's also about a 20-year age gap, so apologies for that.
But the hair's the same, so it's all about
Yeah, my sincere apologies. Clearly, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so everything that I say today, just ignore it.
Yeah, we'll leave out all the hate mail that we got this week, but just to let you guys know that did leave hate mail, we did acknowledge it. And
I was given lashings and beatings.
Yeah,
and
shame.
They rang the bell of shame. Yeah.
I've never seen Dan so naked. Crazy.
Anyway, your apology is accepted, Daniel. I mean, me and Kevin didn't even call you up on it, so yeah, let's move on. Hit us with the news. Go.
Oh, okay. Seeing as we just spoke about BAFTAs, let's carry on with that. Control and Death Stranding both have 11 BAFTA nominations each this year, which is the joint highest amount.
I didn't realise
that any game
BAFTA. Sorry, I didn't realise that BAFTA has those like Joke Awards for like the shittest game and things like that. I'm just trying to figure out how Control would have got 11.
Oh,
nominations.
I was going to say, do they? Do they have Joke Awards? They do. So they both got 11 BAFTA nominations each. Control got things like animation, artistic achievement, game design, and narrative.
Yeah, that concrete looks very concrete.
Do you agree with that with your 1.5 hours that you played of this game?
That's just more than enough to tell you that the animation, art, and visual fidelity of it was shocking. Okay.
At least you can get your refund on Steam.
It's also nominated for best game, so there's that.
Well, clearly BAFTAs know fuck all about games.
They should call them Daftas.
That's good, I like that. Oh, what's that episode title list? Hold on.
So the Daftas consider it to be a good game, but Ben of Praise the Pickle podcast does not.
Praise the Pickle fame.
Praise the Pickle fame.
Yeah.
A couple of the actors are nominated for leading performances as well. Death Stranding got lots of the same, but it didn't get best game. However, to counteract that, kind of balance it out, Kojima himself is potentially getting a fellowship, as mentioned in the last episode.
That's pretty mad, though. 11 nominations. 2 games to get 11 nominations.
Each, yeah, that's crazy.
But does that not just mean it was a really shit year for games then? Because they weren't evenly distributed across like loads of bangers.
Maybe. There were a couple of other games I should mention. Untitled Goose Game is up for nomination. Sayonara Wild Hearts, which lots of people really liked. Disco Elysium and Baba Is You.
Oh, nice.
Oh, no way. That's quite cool.
In fact, the nominations for Best Game overall are Control, Disco, Luigi's Mansion 3, Outer Wilds, Sekiro, and Untitled Goose Game.
Outer Wilds is the space, they're both space, damn it. The indie one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yes.
I really want to play Luigi's Mansion 3.
You should get a Switch, Kevin.
You could play around mine at some point if you come around.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Co-op it.
But you should also get a Switch, Kevin.
You should also get a Switch, to be fair.
Wait, can you play that over online?
Don't think so. Just don't get a Switch to play games online, man. It's
I just thought
designed
maybe
for
you could play
co-op.
Luigi's Mansion online with someone else.
I don't think so, no.
Oh,
It's got a multiplayer, but I think it's local.
Yeah, it's couch co-op now.
Yeah.
BAFTA stuff. We've also got the Baldurs Gate 3 gameplay demo, which was amazing, by the way. The opening cutscene is incredible.
It is
the
damn good. I've seen it now.
Live stream was just so good. It was one of the funniest live streams I've ever seen. What I liked about it was, I think we mentioned it a bit last week. Did we mention it last week?
I think so, yeah. I'm sure we did.
But it was great because it was all live and it all happened on stage, and lots of the game is based around traditional tabletop mechanics, so lots of dice rolling. You try and do something, and then depending on how good you are at that, you roll a dice. And sometimes things can go horribly wrong and quite catastrophic, and that ends up in some pretty funny situations. And basically the guy playing it, who's the director of the studio, had some awful luck on stage, and everything went so horribly wrong that he had to restart the entire demo.
Perfect.
But it was really funny.
Well, it shows that, I'm glad that they kind of did it a raw one like that, though, because that's good. Like, because otherwise you just have like a tech demo sort of thing where they show this is what can happen if you succeed, this is what could happen if you lose, sort of thing. Whereas just seeing it naturally like that's quite cool.
Yeah, it was like straight in the flesh, no messing around, no cheats, no developer codes or anything like that. Just straight into the gameplay, and it was really good. They released a press version of it later on, which is a bit more fleshed out, which was pretty cool too. But yeah, it's worth watching the live one because it's hilarious. But the news is more to do with the exclusive console, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That it's been released on, which is, as we all know,
Stadia.
It's going to be a PC release and a Stadia release at launch.
Well, so it's not exclusive then, is it?
Console. The console that it's going to be exclusive to is the Stadia.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
If you want to call it.
So it's a weird world when you when you just put console in front of exclusive, and it's like, I guess.
Yeah. The news though is more to do with why the developers of Larian Studios, who are a very respected studio, lots of people really like what they do and the passion they put into their work, why they're all seemingly so enthusiastic about Stadia. And it has something to do with their stream integration system that's built into the game. Some games have done this before. Borderlands 3 was a good example, where if you streamed it on Twitch, you could integrate it, and people watching the stream could do things to interact with your game. So they could do things like spawn enemies in, or change loot drop rates, or make crates appear. Just little kind of gameplay twists and turns like that.
Oh, that's quite
Is
cool.
it similar to when you could do that? I think I saw that there was live streams when someone was playing through one of the very first Pokemons, and the Twitch chat was controlling their actions.
Twitch plays Pokemon. Yeah, that was legendary. That was literally a legendary internet moment. Went on for months. There's like praise Lord Helix. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, it was amazing. Yeah, it's not quite like that. They don't have that much control. They're not going to control your characters, but because of the type of game that it is, where it opens up to very organic, kind of generative gameplay situations, things can just kind of happen, and it's all very improvisational, a lot like the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons game. It allows players to do, hopefully, we don't know the details yet, some pretty interesting things. So they could do stuff like tweak dice rolls to make things fail, or just make funny things happen by messing with the laws of chance in the game. And that can have all sorts of effects. They might even be able to do things like tweak the dialogue options that NPCs have. So they might make an NPC really horrible or really nice and friendly.
That's quite cool.
It's got lots of potential for a game like this, and the Dungeons and Dragon mode, the Dungeon Master mode in Divinity Original Sin 2 wasn't the same in terms of stream integration, but what it allowed you to do is have one Dungeon Master who could control every mob in the game and every item, and just kind of create entire scenarios for people to play through.
I never really dived into that side of it, to be honest, but it looked quite cool.
I watched a few campaigns online. I never played it myself, but it looked really, really good. If you've got a good Dungeon Master who's done the tabletop before, and he can explain the story to you, you can do so many different things. And just this kind of sandbox world, I think it's pretty cool. I think it does kind of... I mean, it'll be YouTube exclusive, obviously, because it's Google. So it won't be Twitch, I would imagine. And there's no like confirmed details yet, but there's a lot of talk at the moment about how Larian Studios are quite enthusiastic about the potential of this and having it be a very social experience. I think it's cool. I think it's a really kind of nice idea, especially as a game like this, I would imagine, isn't that fun to watch on a stream because it's quite slow paced and methodical, and it's like quite a personal journey, I guess.
I think that's also the other side of it as well, though, isn't it? Where they're not worried about the general limitations that are on streaming platforms in terms of like quick response things and stuff that requires no input delay, you know?
Yeah.
So
it works perfectly fine for a game like this.
Yeah, it's a perfect sort of game for it, so I can see why they would be excited for that, I suppose. But they also mentioned about didn't they? About the current gen not being able to run it or something.
Yeah, I've seen that in passing. I don't know how true that is.
It's a quote from the Larian dude himself, so...
Yeah, I think he said they'd had to tone it down a lot to make it run.
Yeah. Which
makes sense if they want it to look really pretty, because it does look really good. The cutscenes look amazing, and they changed a lot about it. But yeah, it looks good. They've also said that some people have been saying that developing on Stadia is really hard, and that's the reason that they don't want to do it. It's quite a challenge. And Larian came out and said that it's just like developing for Linux, which is... It's interesting, but I think if you're developing a new game, developing for Linux isn't that much harder than developing for anything else. Maybe porting from Windows to Linux or from something else to Linux is difficult.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
They've said it's not that difficult, and they're quite enjoying the development process, and it does allow them to port to other platforms much more easily. So,
but it can't be that difficult if they're making it for PC and Stadia. Do you know what I mean? It can't, because presumably when they say PC, they mean Windows and not Linux. So like it can't be that. If they're saying that, it can't be that hard to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that if you start with Linux as your baseline, it's easier to branch out of that.
I see. Yeah.
Other people are saying that if you've started with something else, going into Linux is a lot more difficult.
Yeah, with you.
Which kind of makes sense. And lots of people don't even know how to navigate around Linux, and I imagine that's a challenge in itself. I think there was another bit of Stadia news, actually. Yeah, there was. So, Business Insider did some interviews with some publishing executives and various people in the game publishing industry who have all been made anonymous because of their careers in the game industry being at risk, but they interviewed a lot of them about why Stadia has no games, basically. What's your perspective, and why is it such an empty platform? And I think it's kind of to be expected. But these people have said, I've got a couple of quotes here. Many developers have explained that one of the biggest reasons indies have mostly stayed away from Stadia is a lack of financial incentive from Google. One executive at a publishing company described the amount of money that Google was offering to them as so low it wasn't even part of the conversation. Which is quite shocking, really.
That is insane from Google. Like, if you're trying to enter the bloody video game business and you got all this money, go bloody ham, man.
Splash up.
Take all of them. Just take everyone. Just to literally be like, I want you, and they'll be like, actually, we kind of want it to go on Steam. We'll give you this much. Okay. Like, it's just, you have so much money. You're Google. You're one of the biggest companies in the world.
The fact that this didn't even cross our minds as to one of the reasons why they haven't got many games on there, it just shows so much.
Yeah, well, why would we think that? Like, it's Google. It's Google, for Christ's sake.
Out, man.
It's insane.
The problem is as well is that it's quite easy to not have somebody like Sony or Nintendo pay you to put a game on their platform, because the developers are going there for the massive install sizes. Like, you've got, 50 million Switches now and 100 million PS4s, so you know it's going to get into the hands of players. Whereas Stadia doesn't have an audience yet. There's no players on there, so the developers need some kind of initial incentive to go on there in the first place. It's not going to be the number of people using the platform, so it's got to be something else for them to invest. Yeah,
that's what Google seriously needs to do. That, man, like, they need to buy their way into the gaming market. Like, they've done well to get Baldurs Gate, I'll say that much, but there's no reason for anyone to move to Stadia currently, and the only reason in the future, in reality, will be if there is a PC game that you want but your PC can't run it. That's the only reason I can think of why someone would move to Stadia, because there's no exclusives on it that are, worth your time or investment, and it's just mad. I don't get it. I can't believe money is an issue with Google.
Well, the other part of that, which was, I love this. They said the quote from a developer: "If you could see yourself getting into a long-term relationship with Google?" ? I think I missed a bit there. But with Google's history, I don't even know if they're working on Stadia in a year. That wouldn't be something crazy that Google does. It's in their track record. So basically, whoever this person is saying, look, Google have cancelled and just stopped working on so many projects. Why should we make the risk?
Yeah.
Why should we take that plunge, invest a lot of time and effort into developing for something that's, apart from Larian Studios, everybody else have said that it is a lot more difficult to develop for. Why should we do that if, based on Google's history, they're just going to stop? They're going to give up with it in a year or two's time.
Yeah, but I reckon the issue is actually a twofold thing, isn't it? It's not that it's difficult to do it. It's that it requires a lot of effort to move on to there, and there is no cash investment to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like, why are they going to put in? Yeah, well, why are they going to put in all this effort to port their game onto the Stadia when Google aren't even giving them a significant sum of money? It makes no sense. It's just illogical.
The amazing thing as well was that apparently this concern that Google might just give up on Stadia at some point and kill the service, as it's done with so many other services over the years, was brought up unprompted by every single person that we interviewed.
Oh, really? That's jokes. The Google graveyard forever.
Clearly a big concern.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of another news story which I forgot to write down, but actually Stadia did do something pretty big recently.
Yes, I was going to remind you of this, but you've got it.
So they opened a new office, and they've poached Shannon Studstill from Santa Monica Studio, who are the Gears of War developers, and she's a really, really big name in like the AAA.
She was a publisher of God of War, wasn't she? Publisher,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Santa Monica Studios. They're pretty well respected and quite big in the industry. Sony have set up, Santa Monica have said she's being replaced by somebody else. I can't remember who that is, but somebody who's just as well known. It's not Phil Spencer. But it's pretty interesting because they've opened this brand new office, a whole new studio, put clearly a lot of investment and money into it. So this is kind of what we've been saying, is that they need to have some really killer apps.
Yeah, but they needed to be doing this about 3 years ago. Like,
exactly.
Before the actual console launch. Not
the problem is, what are they going to do? Like, at the very least, it's going to take 2 years to develop a good game, and even that would be a rushed project and probably quite a small thing, like a short experience or something. Most of these games take 3-4 years to make, if not longer.
Yeah.
And by that point, I think it's probably too little, too late.
And if Google are being as stingy as it seems, then it might even be longer than that. Like, you want to develop a AAA game, you can have one artist. There you go. One singular artist who is part-time. That is it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe that's where all the money is. They're not investing in indies. They're just giving it all to this person.
They need to respect the indies, man. Indies have basically made Switch what it is. Like, you need to. They need to seriously reconsider their game plan, I think. But I mean, it's good that they're going for a new exclusive IP company thing, but like, too little too late. You really, really think that Google Stadia is going to be around in 4 to 5 years? I do not think so. And the only reason it would be if it just becomes another console where everything just gets launched on it automatically, like, well, not automatically, but like, because I mean, it does look like it could be heading that way, like Cyberpunk's coming out on it and stuff like that, which is pretty mad. But if it just, as it gets towards like the next gen, all games just come out on Stadia anyway. It's just like, PS4, Xbox, and Stadia. It's just a thing. But I don't know, man. They're going to have to start opening those purse strings,
I can't imagine that they wouldn't be around. I feel like it's a good industry to get into because gaming's only getting bigger.
Yeah.
I think it'd be silly of them, really, to knock it on the head.
Yeah, no, it would be
silly,
silly, but they clearly don't see that much in it because they're not opening the purse. They're not giving out money. If they want to get into this industry that badly, they need to start investing in it.
Maybe they thought that their name would get them.
No, well,
people.
It's just another example of someone trying to get into the video game industry, but not understanding the video game industry. If that makes sense. Yeah. People don't want another platform. People like the platform they're on now. You need to give them something that's going to make them move from that platform. And the only way you're going to do that is by investing tons of money. Because look at Epic Games Store, for example. Look how much everyone hated on Epic Games Store. Like, it's insane. And that's no different. You're still using the same hardware. You just have to download a different installer. It's ridiculous. But you really think people are going to move an entire console for nothing?
Yeah,
like, it's just not going to happen.
Not only that, you have to buy all the games again on it.
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah.
I don't know, it's a weird one because even if they did pump loads of money into these indie studios to port games that already existed, it's still kind of the same argument. Why would people go and experience Dead Cells and Celeste on Stadia when they've probably already played it somewhere else? Or they could just play it locally and it doesn't cost that much to get anyway. Yeah,
but that's the original argument though, isn't it? Is that Stadia, to succeed, kind of needed to be a subscription service. That was the only way it was ever going to succeed. It was that the second everyone found out it wasn't a subscription service, everyone was like, wait, what? So what are you offering exactly? There's just, you can play it anywhere. And it's like, well, yeah, but Xbox now do that. Bethesda have got their own one. There's so many coming out. You're offering nothing, literally nothing. You're just... What are you? And they've fucked up at every single turn at this point, and it's just getting a bit sad now.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting time for Stadia this year, I think.
Stadia will be dead, 100%. People are not going to invest. People wouldn't invest in it anyway, and people definitely won't invest now that PS5 and Xbox are on horizon. Like, it just won't happen. There's no way that people are going to start investing in Stadia when there's a next generation of Sony and Microsoft on the horizon.
Unless it becomes £10 a month.
Yeah, if it's a subscription service, I would do it. I'm all over that, man. If there were loads of games on it and it was £10 a month and the streaming actually worked, 100%. I think a load of people would be. Like, for example, Cyberpunk's not a great example, but
it's similar to the Xbox Game Pass. It's
Yeah,
one of them ones
exactly,
that there's
yeah,
loads of
yeah.
games on it. It works,
Yeah.
and
I would
it's
never-
a subscription. Why would you not?
yeah, I would never in a million years buy a game off the Microsoft Store on the PC. Never. But
It's so expensive.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the Xbox Game Pass, yeah, well up for it. You give me a £5 to £10 subscription service a month with even one new game a month, even if it's a little indie game and it's not fantastic, whatever. You're just giving me games to play, and I don't have to worry about it anymore, sort of thing. It's great. That's what you need to do, man. It just makes me so angry.
Board of Stadia now. Let's talk about something else.
Go.
We've got Half-Life Alyx coming soon. That does actually look good. They released 2 new gameplay
It does.
videos.
It looks mad.
Looks so good. So there's 10 minutes of new footage. If you haven't seen it, worth checking out. And it's pretty cool. But the Valve VR headsets, the Index, sold out pretty quickly as soon as this announcement that this game was came out. And they put out a tweet the other day saying that finally some new headsets are going to be in stock on Monday, the 9th of March at 10 AM PST or something. However, place your orders very, very quickly because they will also be sold out on Monday, the 9th of March. So they reckon that they're going to get a load of new headsets and they're going to sell out the same day. So apparently it's going pretty mad over there, and I think that's a cool thing for VR. So
It is pretty mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it works on all VR headsets.
There's someone selling a Valve Index in West Midlands for £820. Do you want to go three ways on it?
Well, that's the thing for me, yeah.
You just ask Kevin to spend money, Ben.
Oh yeah, I can't do that. Sorry.
That's true. For me, it looks cool, but it's not enough to shell out so much coins, my god, so much money to get a new gaming headset type thing.
Depends how much money you got, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. The thing I like about it is that it kind of invigorate quality AAA VR games or any VR games to kind of follow suit. Which is why the trailer was so good, but they need to be more on VR for me to wanna. It'd be cool if you could rent out VR headsets, but
I'm literally looking as we speak. I'm looking at if it's possible to rent a Valve Index because I don't think I can handle life without playing this new Half-Life game. I need to experience it, and I'm just trying to find out if there's a way you can hire it.
Just wait till the hype dies down, man. You get it eventually.
No, because I don't want one. That's the issue. I get a VR headset and I play the few games I want to play, and then I want to get rid of it straight away.
How many times have you bought a VR headset and sold it?
Once, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you bought it twice and sold it twice.
No, just once, but I just,
Unless you want to go to, is it Game and other places like that? That they
play through the
VR?
entire game. It's like, can I just like?
Expensive as well.
Yeah, it's mad. It's like £10 for half an hour or something. It's mad.
The hype isn't just the fact that it looks like a good game. The hype is that it's a Half-Life game.
Yeah, that's all I care.
Yeah,
about.
that's true.
I just need to play it.
Yeah, that's why especially if they've announced that it's not like a finale to the series. It's a return to the universe, the beginning of a new era, and I think that's so exciting. They were some of my favorite games of all time. They were some of lots of people's favorite games of all time, and that's why people are hyped. I think it's also, this headset is the best VR headset on the market. It's not just the Valve one; it's the best one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's kind of first big AAA game, probably going to be one of the most highly rated VR games to like kickstart the generation again.
It's
Half-Life,
needed.
finally. I can see why it's selling so well, and people bought Xboxes so that they could play Halo. People bought PlayStation so that they could play Uncharted.
Yeah,
that's why I bought an Xbox first. First time I bought an Xbox because I could play Halo.
There you go, exactly.
Loser.
Yeah, pretty cool. Speaking of Xboxes and whatnot, we've got a couple of birthdays to talk about.
Yay!
Thank you. It was a couple of months ago, but never.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That sounded so sad. 155 million units the PlayStation 2 sold, and it's now 20 years old this week. So happy birthday,
years,
PlayStation
man.
2.
Clap, clap,
What
clap,
was-
clap, clap, clap.
Did you both have a PlayStation 2? Did you grow up with one?
Gran Turismo 3 was my baby.
That's what I was going to ask. What was the game that you remember most?
Oh,
So many good games on that system.
Yeah.
Man.
on PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Was that where? Was it Tony Hawk? That was on there, wasn't it? That was.
Yeah. I mean, that was potentially on PS1 as well.
I was
Pro
sure.
Skater 2 and Pro Skater 3, I think, were PS2. But yeah, those were great, man. Those are so good.
Oh, mine's easy actually. Resident Evil 4.
See, I almost said that, but then I realised I played it on GameCube, not PlayStation.
I'm sure I played it on PlayStation first. Or maybe Dragon Quest 8. I used to bang that out as well.
Oh yeah, I played a lot of that.
So I had to look these up because I can't remember which ones were on each console.
Yeah, so
Difficult thing back then,
Pro
isn't it?
Skater 2 was on the PlayStation 1. Pro Skater 3 was on the PlayStation 2 as well.
I think in terms of general games that were on PlayStation, but I might not have necessarily played them on PlayStation, Silent Hill 2
Yeah.
and all the Guitar Hero games.
Oh yeah, good shout.
Like,
Medal of Honor was
shouts.
up. Oh, Need for Speed 2. That was up there for one of them.
Need for Speed.
I live on the front lines. Final Fantasy X.
Dan, how have you not mentioned Dragon Ball Z, man?
Oh, Budokai and
Budokai Tenkaichi 1, Budokai Tenkaichi 2, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and
Those-
Budokai 1, 2, and
those-
3 as well.
Masterpieces. Yeah.
They were
yeah.
good,
oh, yeah.
man.
Played a lot of them.
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh, so good.
Anyway, we get to do this for hours, yeah. There's a lot of bangers, and it's mad that's 20 years, man. It makes me feel really old.
Ratchet and Clank.
Medal of Honor.
Medal of Honor Frontlines was a good one.
Incredible.
Right, we're literally just naming out PS2 games now, can we?
Yeah, but it was.
Let's-
Ben, how can we forget Time Splitters, Future Perfect?
No, we didn't play that on there, did we?
I think we
No,
did.
it was, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, oh, 100%, yeah. Because that was the first game that came to my head was that, but I thought we played it on GameCube for some reason. But no,
And Time
it
Splitters
was
2.
PS2.
And Soul Calibur 2.
Oh, Soul Calibur 2!
We need to stop listing games. Oh, Soul Calibur 2!
Shut up. Yeah, a lot of bangers, man.
So
Bloody
many
good
games.
console.
20 years.
155 million as well. That is insane.
Yeah.
That's the top selling console of all time, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah. It's also the Switch's 3-year birthday. Let's call it birthday.
3 years. It feels
3
like.
years and Nintendo Switch has flown by.
You know what though? Now that I think about it, no, I feel like because like Nintendo are always like mid, so like Sony and Xbox come out at the same time and then they live for like 8 years, whatever. And I always feel like Nintendo sort of come out halfway through a generation.
Yeah.
So like now that I'm playing the Switch, I feel like it is really far behind the times, considering what's going to happen next generation. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a console that's 3 years old. It feels like it should have been like the same sort of time as PS4 and Xbox One that it came out, but it wasn't.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I am starting to crave a Switch Pro or something at this
yeah,
point.
same. Yeah, just
Not
man,
gonna
just playing like indie games on like a 1080p OLED bigger screen sort of thing would just be so nice. Like I would never. The only reason I don't buy all of my games on Switch is because I have a really nice monitor for my PC, and I'm just like I just want to play things on that because it looks so much better. Yeah.
Don't blame you. Happy birthday to you. We've also let's talk about
sex, baby.
Baby sex.
Me.
What?
Kevin, did you?
Kev, what?
Oh yeah, that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
God, it's like the crayon episode all over again.
It's like the crayon incident.
Just wanted to join in.
I'm not going to write that down as an episode title, though.
Let's hope that nobody.
Let's not alienate all of our listeners before they even click on the bloody podcast. Yeah.
It's just God. Moving on. Let's talk about esports. We've had some pretty bizarre events happening in the world of professional esports competitions recently. Some related to the wonderful, highly rated FIFA 2020.
Woo!
And some related to the even better, more highly rated Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Wait, they're actually doing esports for Warcraft?
Yeah, they had their first professional event.
Jesus.
God, I think
everyone gave up on that game.
No, it's still Warcraft. It's still the same game. It's still the same mechanics and whatnot. So people that were playing competitively in the old one can now, well, they're kind of forced to play the new one. So there's that. So a couple of FIFA stories. One of them, this was all at the same event, which was the FUT or FUT. I don't know how you say it. If you say
FIFA
FUT or
Ultimate
FUT.
Team.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea.
Or
I'm clueless.
but people say fart.
Do they? Sounds stupid.
Sounds weird. Fut. Just sounds like a word that just shouldn't exist. Fut.
So, at the EA-sponsored FIFA 2020 qualifying event, there were a couple of major stories. One of them was relating to a game. Kevin informed me of this actually, and I looked it up, where they couldn't find each other via the online server pairing system. The two people that were supposed to be playing in this window for this qualifier. So they were forced to settle the game via a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, the most the most technical way of settling it.
A quote from Hassoon19 or Hassan Ecker, confirmed in his own tweet, translated from German. He advanced to a 3-1 record in the round because he was able to successfully prevail in rock, paper, scissors. So even he is making a sarky comment about it, saying it's ridiculous. I was in the lead anyway, but it shouldn't count getting an extra point
that is
for the sake
insane.
of that. I saw, though, that another one of the pros did make a comment saying that, yes, it wasn't the most ideal situation, but the pros didn't actually have to do the rock, paper, scissors. Like they agreed to it. It was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Through it, they could have
but for
stalled it out. Yeah. That
for
part
a
of it is
professional game
ridiculous.
where everyone's waiting for you and they want to start the next game, it's like there's a lot of money in these events, and lots of these people, it's basically their career. It's like it's what they do for a living. It's they put a lot of effort into it, and when the people that make the game and have this much money to host servers and competitions and get sponsors and adverts, I mean, they're paying FIFA, like the Football League themselves. It must be, what, hundreds of millions of pounds just for the licensing fees, and they can't afford to run some stupid matchmaking servers. It's insane. Obviously, the loser is pissed off beyond belief. He quotes, his name's Brancher56, or Sean Gallia. He says, "I cannot believe it. We literally had to play rock, paper, scissors. We couldn't find it because we couldn't find each other to invite to an EA licensed qualifier. What the fuck? I'm done." So don't blame him at all.
That is, mate. The first thing I'll be doing is trying to get a refund on my travel arrangements.
Yeah,
it's just insane. I can't believe that shit, man.
On top of that, I think this was at the same event in the qualifiers. This guy's actually managed to post a video of the entire event. A chap called, God damn it, I'm gonna have to pronounce that. I wish I hadn't said that sentence.
I'm ready. My eardrums are ready. Peter Molyneux.
The rat Obama.
I can't say it. I don't know how you say that name.
Spell it out.
Giuseppe.
Oh, Giuseppe.
Say it again.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe. Thank you. Giuseppe Guastella.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Just something like that.
Danny, Spanish.
Shut up.
I like he's Italian, but
Yeah, well. Oh god, it's so Italian now that you said that. Jesus, are you Spanish? God.
So he actually posted the video of this. I'll read out the comment first and describe what happens. He puts a note out on Twitter saying EA needs to fix these serious issues with the game. To begin with, NA qualifiers are postponed due to worldwide server hacking. On top of that all, it's Sunday. I want to spend it with my family, but because I'm a serious professional and I decided to proceed with the tournament. I'm playing a decisive game. Winner moves on, loser is out. I kick my last penalty kick, so it's literally the deciding penalty kick of the game, right? And it goes in to the goal, and it doesn't register. The game just doesn't register it. The commentators, you hear them in the background, the in-game commentators are going, "Oh no, he's missed it. He's whiffed his last shot. He's out of the competition." All this kind of stuff.
You sound salty.
If you watch the video, it quite clearly goes straight in the back of the net and like bounces off the back of the net and sits behind the line in the goal. It's not even like it runs across the line or it's like a bit of a, a shady grey area one. It goes directly into the goal, but the game doesn't register it because of a bug. And the admins at the top of the competition decide that it's not a goal, and because of that, he's out of the tournament. And he goes on to say, "I'm such a passionate player in this game. I compete in this game to my full potential, but how can anybody take it seriously if the game has such elementary school issues? If this was any other top tier professional competing in another esports game, things like this wouldn't happen." But the video is pretty crazy to watch. But the fact that the admins of the competition, who all watched this ball literally roll into the back of the net, said, "Nope, the game didn't register it, so we're not going to register it either," and gave it to the other person. I don't know. I feel like they could have handled that a bit better.
I also feel like the other person should have, forfeited or something.
Yeah.
How much of a dick do you have to be like, well, the game didn't register it, so unlucky.
If
it was me and you playing, yeah, sure, I'd take that.
Problem with it though is that
oh, we go FIFA fanboy time.
No. If you get to that point where, assuming that when he scored this goal, it meant that he lost the game. So if he'd scored that goal, it means they'll be level pegging again.
Yeah.
If you were to count this,
if they were already level pegging, no.
No.
Missing something?
Yeah, I think you are.
Fucking hell!
I love football.
Oh god, sassy pants back on again. Jesus.
So they would be level pegging. Would you then play a game until you get to penalties and then go again? Surely that's the fair way of doing
penalties,
it.
At a minimum, they should have done that. Oh, so there you go. I can see it now. The score at the time of this kick is one team has 4 goals and 1 miss, and the other team has 3 goals and 1 miss. So I think it was his chance to go into ties. What?
Yeah.
I don't understand football,
I think it would be ties. Yeah, it would be ties.
Why can I not process
that?
But so
if he scored the one with 3 goals and 1 miss, I'm assuming it was his go. If he'd have scored that, it would have been 4 goals to him and 4 goals to the other person.
But it's red dot, green dot, green dot, green dot, red dot.
Yes, so the last one should have been green.
Already. But this is before the goal's gone in. He hasn't kicked the ball yet.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But okay, basically,
whatever.
The issue is the game glitched, right? And the fact that they don't have things in place for that is ridiculous because things can go wrong. No. Things can go wrong in every game because games are just a bunch of codes and things go wrong all the time. And there's glitches and there's random shit that happens when you play all sorts of games, And no game is perfect except for maybe like Counter-Strike is probably the only example of a game that and League of Legends, games that have like a really, really strong tournament side already. But they've been going for donkeys, like a new game like this is going to have issues and you need to have the things in place for it. Like you need to.
Well, no, it shouldn't be this bog-ridden and this messed up at this point
to run a tournament
game series.
Yeah,
it's FIFA 2020. It's not the first game they've made. It's just an iteration of many, many, many games.
Yeah,
and you'd think by now they'd have some kind of
but
system in place.
Regardless of that, is the fact that they didn't have any way to resolve this because if this happens in any other game. You can reset the round. For example, in Counter-Strike, you can reset the round if someone disconnects. Yeah, if someone disconnects, then they'll reset the round, because if they're playing like locally in a tournament arena. I've seen it happen. I watch quite a lot of Counter-Strike stuff, and when if someone disconnects, the round gets reset completely. Money goes back and everything, and that facility is in place, and that rule is in place. You know, like that they can't just. They need to have some way of dealing with this. They can't just be like, the judge has decided that didn't count. Like, it doesn't work like that. You know, there needs to be a way to replay the point, or there needs to be a system in place to be able to resolve this issue in a fair, unbiased way, not just rock, paper, scissors. But
that's not the answer.
No.
One more esports story then, just to tie all this together, was the first ever Warcraft 3 professional competition, which was completely plagued by disconnects and desync issues. Bearing in mind this isn't a new community and a new esports game, again it's the same game, like just looks different. It's the exact same game, so anybody that used to play professionally can still play it the exact same way they used to now, supposedly. So the first event was held. Lots of desyncs, some players were just kicked out of games, but the one that's worth mentioning is the battle between the Swedish RTS gamer called Thorzane against the South Korean gamer called Moon. And Moon is quite famous. He's the most highly paid esports player, or was for a while, in any game, I believe. And he's considered to be, if not the best, then one of the best players in the entire world. So he's really well respected within that community. Thorzane's relatively new in comparison, not as big or as well known or considered to be as good, but he's obviously been training and practicing, and the videos are kind of heartbreaking to watch, but he basically finds a way to get the one up on Moon, and it's a combination of things like different flanking techniques, and you can tell that Thorzane's in the lead quite significantly in terms of resources and utility and what he's able to do in the late game. At some points he was like a whole in-game advancement level ahead, which is a big deal in an RTS game. So he was stomping him, and it happened twice in their series of matches where he pulled off all these really, really clever tactics to outsmart Moon with all these different maneuvers and whatnot, and the game just dropped out. And obviously in a game like this, it's quite straightforward. Something like that happens, you have to start again. But in a game again that's 17, 18 years old now technically, it's a bit of a struggle, because in an RTS game, when he's poured out all these tactics and all these counters and all these different methods that he's trained and learned over however long to defeat one of the best players in the world, the subsequent regames, the rematches, Moon managed to completely stomp and counterattack, because he knows exactly what the other guy's thinking. He knows what all of his secret moves are. It's like playing a game of chess with someone, or no, a game of cards with somebody, having to restart but giving each other the same hand again.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
I know exactly what you've got in your hand. I'm just going to play around it. So obviously Moon completely stomped him in the end, but if those two games hadn't disconnected, it's quite clear, and you can't miss it, Thorzane would have beaten him, and he would have beaten one of the best players in the world and been given some pretty serious accolades for it.
Yeah, but then, again, the other side of it is, as well, Moon should have conceded then. If he was that far behind, then he should have been like, no, the game disconnected, that's your win.
True, but that's not the story. That's kind of up to him, and that's him as an individual, and think of it what you want. Yeah, maybe he's an arsehole for accepting the win, maybe he's not, but that's a personal thing, and I'm not really interested in that. The fact that this happened in the first place...
sorry, bloody hell.
No, I see what you're saying. It's not the point of this. It's just, it shouldn't happen in the first place for a game that's this established and this old, that's trying to host professional sponsored events with a ton of money involved, and they can't even do like a LAN competition. Like, it's ridiculous. They're sitting on stage next to each other. It's a fucking Ethernet cable into a switch. Like, why is that dropping out? Why is that desynchronizing? It's not some weird matchmaking issue or login servers or something. I don't know how it all works in the client here, but it shouldn't be that hard. If they were using the old system, it would have been fine. And in fact, some of the games during the event had to revert to the old style graphics because they were having issues as well. So they were essentially playing the new client in the exact same way as they were playing the old one. And it's so stupid and convoluted. On the flip side, Warcraft 3 Reforged has gone up from a 0.5 to a 0.6 on Metacritic. So congratulations, Blizzard.
Well done, well
Go
done.
on, Warcraft.
Clap, 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 clap.
Yeah.
Clap.
So lots of esports stuff going on. Turns out that companies can't make esports games anymore. So let's hope that Riot's new game, which I think looks awesome, turns out to be good. You should go and watch the gameplay of that, guys. I think we should get on that.
Is it they've released new stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, a little bit of gameplay, not much. What's it called? Valor something.
Valaference.
Yeah, that one. Looks good. Looks fun.
I'll find out what the name is, so I don't look like an idiot.
Thank you. I think we've way past that by this point. But hey,
You're a bastard. You know that.
We've got all of that out of the way. Let's talk about coronavirus, shall we?
Let's do it. Oh, Valorant. There you go. Valorant. Same thing.
Yeah. What was it? Finalise that.
Valorant.
Yeah. Valorant. A knight is sworn to valor.
And
there is a thing that I'm supposed to read now, and I've lost it. Coronavirus, thank you. So we talked last week about GDC and lots of people dropping out. I think the day afterwards it was announced that GDC would be postponed.
It was indeed, yes. We predicted correctly.
Yes.
Because we are journalisms.
We did all of the researches.
We did all of the journalism.
Yes, we are professionals, you see. We know what's happening in the world.
We got the inside scoop.
Just not very good with names.
Yeah.
So that happened. E3, a little while ago, put out a statement around the same time, I think, maybe a week or so ago, saying that the plans for E3 were all moving ahead at full speed, regardless of some of the people dropping out. So nobody should worry, it's all going to be fine. Since then, LA, where E3 is hosted, has declared a state of emergency, which sounds terrifying, like some sort of zombie movie, but hey ho.
I was talking to Charlotte about this earlier, and I was like, I feel like it's a bit preemptive calling it a state of emergency. Like, do they even have any cases there yet? Like, isn't it more like a code yellow situation? You know, like flood warnings as opposed to actual floods.
I don't feel like there's a. I think the sooner that something drastic is done, the sooner the whole coronavirus thing will die down. I feel like countries should really start implementing something major that will just kind of kill off this whole situation. Otherwise, if major strict instructions aren't put in place, then but it's just going to keep going round.
I've got a good idea. How about
we put everyone in prison?
Not far off. I was going to say, how about we isolate everyone that's been to a high-risk country?
By force. We isolate them by force.
I don't even think that. I think for the fact that at my work yesterday, they sent around a coronavirus email saying that everyone should be taking home their laptops just in case an outbreak of coronavirus means that you have to work from home, and you're going to be closing down the offices. I think it's something that schools should just not send their kids into school, because you never know.
Kev, you do understand the implications of all these things you're saying, yeah?
Yeah, I understand it, but I feel as if it's just going to keep spreading and spreading and spreading.
But it's going to spread anyway. Like, it's not.
So eventually, everyone's probably going to go get it.
No, because it's going to spread at a rate, right? And the rate will go down if you isolate every individual person by saying nobody leave your home. That then the rate of transmittal will go down. But like it's still gonna happen unless you do something completely ludicrous. But the implications of doing that is just insane.
Ludicrous itself.
Yeah, maybe the implications are so much that like you can't take away. I don't know. For example, you can't say just do this until it all dies down. You know, this is how long would you have to take kids out of school for? 3 months? You can't deprive kids of 3 months of education. How's that going to work?
Online.
Online, fantastic. Okay, what about my job? I can't work my job. I have to have paper notes in front of me. So how do I do my job?
Put it on hold.
Put it on hold. Fantastic. Okay,
yep.
So. We got, I don't know, patients that require urgent cancer treatment. What about the doctors in that clinic? Put that on hold as well?
Hazard suits.
Wear hazard suits. Cool. You got this all planned out. Just go write a letter to your local.
Sign me up.
Your local MP, and yeah. I just think you're wrong, Kev.
Kevin's solution has zero economical risk whatsoever.
Thank you.
Just isolate everyone, okay? Just don't let anyone.
Bring the entire country to a standstill.
Martial law. That is the only way.
Let's just accelerate global warming.
Yeah,
we'll be fine. Just wipe out the species. Problem solved.
I'm so glad you guys agree with me.
I can tell you put a lot of thought into this, Kev. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I just brought it up in a split second.
Yeah, and you got shut down in a couple of split seconds. Dan, what was so E3 said that they are
E3.
going,
so initially they said they're going full speed ahead. They've now basically backtracked. They've still put out a relatively confident sounding statement. They've said that the ESA have said that the health and safety of our attendees, exhibitors, partners and staff are our top priority, while the ESA continues to plan for a safe and successful E3 show in June. We are monitoring and evaluating the situation daily. Our E3 team and partners continue to monitor COVID-19 via the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization, who are actively assessing the latest information and will continue to develop measures to further reduce health risks at the show. So basically they're saying, maybe it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. E3 is not happening this year.
E3 is not happening this year, no.
Because they have to isolate everyone.
Yeah, because everyone's got to go to prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially people that have been to places like Italy, who are even higher risk than everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
They should be the first to go onto Coronavirus Island. you know that massive floating rubbish dump thing. You know, there's like a big patch of like just
and that's
garbage.
That's called England.
That's a good one. Yeah, but you know, there's like a 30-mile like wide, massive, just floating island of garbage that people have chucked away, basically. And it's all like welded together. Just stick all the coronavirus people on there. It's fine. Do that. They'll all be fine within a few weeks. Granted, there'll be some deaths, but
some
not
from
coronavirus doctors on there. There you go.
They could do like a boot camp where they put everybody in one place, and then the survivors get let go, and those are the ones that we get the antibodies from.
Yeah.
We'll find the most resilient people on the planet by putting them all in one place.
It's so funny.
Great ideas we have.
Because I work in clinical trials, right? It's so funny how much of an issue my job currently is now in terms of like the role of clinical trials. How much of an issue that is in terms of getting a freaking vaccine out there is insane. So, like, have you seen in China that someone's just injected themselves with a vaccine because they're like, fuck it, I ain't going through this trial shit, man. I just need to do this. and that's
what, like a trial untested vaccine.
No. It's been tested on animals. I'm sure. I think it's done phase 1 on animals, and no, not phase 1. Sorry, it's done animal testing, and it's moving to phase 1 now. But
is this a COVID-19?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It takes them like a few weeks to make a vaccine for this stuff, man. That's not the issue. The issue is the 1.5 years of clinical trials they need to do before they can actually get it out there.
Yeah.
But
well, isn't there something? Don't they test it on pigs? Because pigs are like really close to humans in.
Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of animals I can test it on, but
well, I did see a video of a one of the doctors in China who they simply just had a vaccine and I was like, let's just see if it works, and they just injected themselves straight away.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
So it was that one. I wasn't sure if it was that one or not because you were saying something else about it.
What a nutter.
Yeah. No, it's not. But it's not, honestly. Like, the chances of there being a problem with these medications is very, very, very low. Especially because the vaccine, I don't even think it's that wildly different from ones that we currently use anyway. So it's like, it's just that
next week's headlines: a Chinese doctor transforms into a pig after taking experimental drugs.
This is, you know what this reminds me of though? This reminds me of the start of I Am Legend.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like,
or any other zombie related.
Yeah, where they're just like, I found a cure for cancer. It's like, oh, great, and then you take it and turn it into like some weird vampire zombie thing, and then that's it. Anyway, so
this is a gaming podcast.
Yeah, sorry, but E3, I think it's quite funny how they sort of. They post this like really super positive, like, don't worry guys, E3's still happening, it's gonna be amazing. And then 5 days later, LA are just like, yeah, we're in a state of emergency now. And then E3 like come back with their tails between their legs, and they're just like, yeah, we might have to cancel.
Well, the thing is, right, this is potentially catastrophic for them. It's not just one event.
Yeah, no, of course.
Because what will happen is, potentially what will happen is that all of these studios and companies that were going to do a show floor thing at E3 will be forced to look at other ways to present their new products and services. So they will trial the streaming thing, and then over the course of the next 6 months to a year, they'll look at their sales, and what they'll potentially realise is that actually we didn't need to spend 5, 10, 15 million at E3. We've just done this little online stream. We've used social media to promote what we've got, and our sales are the same, if not better. Yeah. So why are we spending 10 million to go all the way across the country to LA with all the risks involved and all the cost involved when we don't need to do that anymore? Exactly. So we'll find out that next year, if E3 doesn't happen this time, everyone's going to realise we never needed it. Why are we still doing this?
But I've already told Charlotte I'm not celebrating my birthday this year because that's my birthday celebration is watching E3, as sad as it sounds.
Got a little hat on.
We're gonna do it again this year. We're just watching a stream or something, just crying.
Watching last year's E3.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool if we could get everyone together to watch it.
We should get everyone together
to watch what?
The first ever E3.
I watched last year.
Nostalgia.
I watched a couple of years ago. I still remember last year's quite well.
I sometimes go back and watch some of the big ones.
Yeah, so do I.
Hear the audience reactions and stuff. Yeah. And it's quite nice.
It's quite nice watching them and seeing all the flops as well. Like next year we can watch last year's one next year. And just be like, oh, Bleeding Edge, remember all that hype? Oh, God, and now it's dead already.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, we will.
Video games and coronavirus. There is a potentially positive link between the two. Ben, you may have heard of this. It's a little open source game that you can download.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this, yeah.
Called Fold It. I've lost the link, but I was looking it up earlier. It's a game developed by some researchers at a university somewhere, I can't remember which one. It's open source, and what it does is allows players to fold proteins in order to potentially come up with new cures?
Antibodies.
Antibodies, thank you. Yeah, Ben will know more about this than I do, but I had a look at it. It doesn't look like a very fun game to play. But
oh, you dick. Just had to say it, didn't you? Instead of being like, guys, check out this new awesome game, you're just like, it looks a bit shit.
No, it's a a puzzle game, essentially, that relies on sort of lateral thinking and fitting shapes into other shapes and that kind of stuff. It's like a 3D modeling kit with the ability to put scripts into it to multiply things, because some of these chains can be made up of like thousands of amino acids, right? So you've got to, like, doing it all manually isn't always appropriate, but it all works using puzzles and challenges and leaderboards and events and things like that. So
that's mad, man. Could you imagine
anybody
if in,
can
like,
get involved.
10 years' time, like, we're looking back at this coronavirus thing, and an antibody gets discovered through this game. Like, could you imagine how insane that would be? Like, just to be like, these guys have made a game, and just some random dude that just likes puzzle games has made a fucking antibody for coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like, how incredible would that be? I love this idea, man. It's so good.
Well, you may have heard of folding at home as well, which was one of the big features of the PlayStation 3 when it came out, being the super powerful cell processor. And it was basically a screensaver, which the screensaver itself just looked like a globe that was turning around, like a 3D globe, with all these little lights on it, like little dots of other people that are doing the same thing as you, running this screensaver. But what it's actually doing in the background is providing spare computing power of the console to research just like this, but it's automated in the background. It's like just going through iteration after iteration to try and find potential matches to solve some of these problems.
Insane.
But what they're saying
man.
is the reason this game is better, it can't do, tens of thousands of calculations a second, but what it can do is add the human, the human intuition into it. Because solving puzzles often requires like a sense of instinct and just like understanding what fits where, things that a machine can't necessarily do. So you've got the folding at home side of it, which again anybody can download on their PC at home and run as basically a screensaver to donate computing power, which I think is really cool. That does the quantity, and then programs like this allow people to just play and experiment. And yeah, potentially anybody that's good with sort of lateral thinking and puzzle solving could come up with something that's really helpful to collaboratively come up with a solution. But yeah, it's being pushed at the moment. Obviously, around the coronavirus, there will be some sort of coronavirus pattern on there that you can try and solve, so to speak. Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty mad.
Yeah, it's a game. It's probably going to take a little bit. It's going to have a bit of a learning curve. It's not going to be like Mario.
Someone just pushes like 4 buttons and they solve it, and you're like, well, what's the problem?
Have you guys ever seen how a protein folds?
It's got like
it says
tons of different degrees of freedom, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's four different levels to it which dictate how it folds. So there's like the actual amino acids, and then like the first chain, and then like the second fold, and then it's really confusing. But I mean, if you could do it bit by bit as a game, it could be quite cool. Yeah.
Well, there's tutorials and beginner challenges and stuff to teach you the basics, and it's quite. Everything's labelled and it guides you through it just like a game tutorial. So I imagine the first hour or two you spend with the game would be without a doubt would be educational in that area.
Yeah, for sure.
And you probably learn a bit. Whether you get to the point of being able to solve virus antibody problems, I don't know, that's a different story. But the fact that you can at least learn a bit about these sorts of things, I think is really cool. I think educational games are brilliant. And I think we spoke a while ago, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not, about VR versions of this game where you can touch the antibodies, like these giant versions of them, and like physically fold them with your hands and do motions to put different movements and sequences into them. And I thought that was really cool as well, because again, you've got 3D space and you're fitting objects into objects and cool stuff, really cool stuff. Yeah, anyway, thought that was a bit more of a positive story. Now,
it's about time we get some bloody positive coronavirus news, isn't it?
Exactly. People are coming together.
Come together.
Are you ready for one last story?
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
I always like to end on a good one. So,
it better be a good one this time.
An 11-year-old was caught by the police having played far too much Grand Theft Auto. 11-year-old playing Grand Theft Auto.
You'd
How
imagine it.
awful. Nobody should ever do that. It has an 18 rating for a reason.
Exactly. Peggy.
None of us...
Peggy.
ESRB, what you doing? So, an 11-year-old in Blackpool, England, was caught by the police for driving an actual car.
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah.
What a lad.
It gets better. So, this all happened.
Don't tell me he walked,
Because
don't tell me he got pulled over and he got out of the car with like an RPG or something.
Not quite. It all happened because a family member of his was so fed up with him playing GTA all day on the PlayStation. So he took the 11-year-old out to a car park and just let him drive around as practice, and they got caught by the police.
Oh.
So the adult's been arrested for traffic offences. Can you imagine though, if you were in a police car and you pulled up to like a car park and you see some like a 10, 11-year-old kid in the driving seat and this adult sitting next to him smoking a fag out the window. So I should say, American listeners, the word fag here has a very different meaning.
Yes.
Probably shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
Cigarette.
Fag is a cigarette.
Cigarette. Yeah. I didn't mean like homophobic drive-bys, just for the record. Just wanted to clear that up. I know it's GTA we're talking about. Maybe we should edit that bit out. So yeah, thought that was a funny little story. 11-year-old's obviously going to get away scot-free, but the father, I think
games
it doesn't
are
say
bad,
father,
man.
it says adult. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's going to be another one of those stories that people will sensationalise. And whose fault is it in this case? Like it is in most cases, is it the kid's fault?
Yes.
I mean, if anything,
Yes.
it got him out of the house.
It got him out of the house, exactly.
That's all that matters these
And he
days.
should have.
You need to go out,
should have
son,
got
and
away.
see the world. Okay, can I borrow your car
Just drive
keys?
around
Yeah,
Sainsbury's
go
car
for it.
park.
I'm in my mum's car.
Yeah. Was that supposed to be a Blackpool accent?
No, that's an old Vine thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Oh
get that.
god, I thought that was quite good as well. Didn't
was
get that
quite
quite
I
the
didn't do
response.
Vines. I missed most of the Vine thing.
It's
Too old.
Yeah,
I miss
fair
it
enough.
too.
No, wait, okay.
Yes. Not what I
Right,
meant.
you done, Dan? Done, Dan.
That's it. Just 1 hour of news today.
Wunderbar. And that is it for our Praise the Pickle news podcast. So, later on in the week, you will see our Praise the Pickle retrospect pop up, which is where we're going to be talking about all the games that we've been playing, along with some lovely community feedback. And spoilers, we got a bit of... I've got some new games this week. I have, anyway. I've been playing Indivisible, which is excellent. Spoiler alert, sorry. And also been playing a new beta for an indie game called My Beautiful Paper Smile. And it is
Exciting.
not as beautiful as the name indicates. It's quite
It is very
terrifying.
papery.
We should also say we're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh my
demo.
god, I didn't even write that on my list. I forgot about that. And the Final Fantasy VII demo. Yeah. Yeah, so lots to talk about. You guys played anything?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That's alright, I'll just give away all my stuff. That's fine. And
Well, I've only got one thing. I'm trying to keep it close to my
okay,
chest.
fine. And there's also a couple of surprises as well then apparently.
Jeez.
So thank you very, very, very much for listening. If you want to leave us some feedback about any of the news stories you've heard today, or any news stories, or anything, if you just want to ask us any questions, Kev, how do they do it?
You can go over to Twitter, which is Praise the Pickle, as well as Facebook, which is Praise the Pickle. Or you can go to Instagram, which is Praise the Pickle Podcast. Or you can write a cheeky little email in, which is praisethepicklepodcast@gmail.com.
.com indeed. Thank you again for listening. Love you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Pickle.